everyone. I'm Mike Kazarian, founder of Rooted History. Today we're talking about AI in family history. Not the hype version, the honest version. What these tools can actually do, where they quietly go wrong, and most importantly, what you can do about it. Using AI to help with family history is not a new concept. You've likely seen it pull together a quick life sketch from some facts. You may have used it to help translate a journal entry from an ancestor. These are genuinely useful capabilities. You've also seen it jump to conclusions and get facts wrong. Like a toddler adamant there is in fact a monster under the bed, AI will tell you something is real when it is not. But I am here to say the issues are controllable and the gains make it worth learning to use AI. Today, we will look at these positives and negatives, and I will give you a few principles to stay in control. In a follow-on session, we will go deeper into what that control looks like. Let's start with what AI genuinely does well, because there's real value here, and it's worth understanding it clearly before we talk about the problems. AI does a fantastic job at making records understandable. As we research our ancestors, we will come across various records that are challenging to understand in a different language or written in a style no longer in common use. Take a raw census entry, dense, abbreviated, written in a format nobody uses anymore, and AI can turn that into a clean, readable summary in seconds. Same with ship manifests, probate records, court documents. The information is all there. AI just makes it legible. That's hours of work compressed into a moment. If your ancestors wrote in German, Swedish, Polish, Latin, Old Cyrillic, AI handles that in real time. What previously required a native speaker, specialist, or years of learning a language is now accessible to anyone. That's a real equalizer. Think about your own tree. How many of your ancestors were born in countries whose records aren't in English? AI removes that barrier. Regarding archaic text, like old legal documents, old church records, old diaries written in a style nobody uses today, like translation, these documents become immediately understandable. There is real value here. You can now understand the context of the document, not just the raw facts. Now, speaking of context, this is what drove me to create Rooted History. Growing up, I was told I had ancestors from Denmark and Sweden, among other countries. Just a few years ago, I had the chance to visit both Sweden and Denmark during the same time period. And while there, I pulled up their records and wondered, what would it have meant to live here all those years ago? I was traveling from Sweden to Denmark by train, which, just to be clear, requires crossing a long bridge over the water that separates both countries. Of course, that bridge did not exist back in the 1800s, and AI provided context of where and when they lived. Things like the climate, the economy, how families lived and worked. This gave me a greater sense of connection to them. They were no longer just dry facts. They became real. That's a capability that's easy to overlook and one of the most valuable things AI brings to family history. Now, the harder part, and this is the part that actually matters for your family history, because getting it wrong here can fundamentally mislead you about your ancestors. I'll present two overarching patterns, and you'll see them show up in different ways. But if we map everything back to these two, our principles for control get a lot cleaner. The first pattern is hallucinated facts, dates, relationships, family connections, even citations. AI invents details that don't exist in any record and presents them with the same confidence it uses for verified facts. There's no tell in the text. It reads the same whether it's true or invented. A fabricated date, it looks exactly like a documented one, and a non-existent citation looks exactly like the real one. That's the core danger of this pattern. Not that it happens, but that you can't see it happening from the output alone. Now, the second pattern is different. This isn't AI inventing a fact. It's AI drawing a conclusion from incomplete information. When the record doesn't explain something, AI fills the gap with the most plausible sounding answer. And plausible is not necessarily true. I saw this firsthand with one of my own ancestors. He immigrated from Zara, Armenia to Salt Lake City in 1905. While I knew why he came, the record didn't have that information. When I ran a biography, AI concluded that his arrival was an outlier, specifically his arrival to Salt Lake City. Most Armenians did not travel to that city as they were immigrating in the early 1900s. It's speculated that the location in the record could be wrong, or that the reason could have been tied to work. Both conclusions were wrong. He had been baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the late 1890s and was literally gathering with the saints at that time. That's why he came to Salt Lake specifically. When I added his baptism and his reason for immigration to his record and reran the biography, AI properly built the correct narrative. Not because the AI got smarter, but because I gave it the full picture. The lesson there is important, and we'll come back to that later. Here's the good news. Both of those patterns are controllable, and the principles map directly back to the two problems we just identified. The first principle is that you are in control. You can set the terms before AI generates anything. You can tell it explicitly what it cannot do. No invented details, no claims without source data, no smoothing over gaps in the record. Flag uncertainty, don't fill in. You can even get it latitude to provide context or draw conclusions if you want. You can write those rules, and when you write them clearly, the AI follows them. That's where the control starts, not after the output, but before it. Now, the second principle is understanding what kind of content you're looking at. Not all AI output is the same, and treating it all the same will cause unnecessary frustration. There are two categories: specific claims about your ancestors, a birth year, a marriage, a migration, a relationship, and then the historical context about the world they lived in. Each needs to be evaluated differently. Specific claims need records behind them. Context is background knowledge. Knowing which you're reading is the foundation of everything that follows, and it maps directly to the two patterns we just covered. For specific claims, dates, relationships, migrations, the standard is traceability. Can it be traced to a record? If not, it's unverified. That's the check that matters. Pull the source. If the connection isn't in the record, the claim isn't established, regardless of how confidently the AI stated it. Simple, consistent, and applicable to any AI tool you use. For context, the AI output comes in two forms. The first is general context about the time and place, how families lived and worked, how immigration generally functioned, what daily life looked like. The second is conclusions about what that context may have meant for your specific ancestor. The second type is the one to watch for. Incomplete input produces incomplete conclusions. Remember my Armenian ancestor? The fix wasn't a different AI. It wasn't a better prompt. It was a more complete picture or a more complete input. One fact that changed everything. You are the variable, and give the AI that full picture and it will draw a better conclusion. It's not a limitation to work around. That's a system working correctly. And you can instruct the AI to provide context without drawing unsubstantiated conclusions about your specific ancestor. Now, AI is a powerful tool for family history. I built Rooted History to help me and to help others like you connect with your ancestors, to understand them in their time and place. AI gives us that ability. It can help you as well, but it works best when you stay in the driver's seat, when you know what it can do, where it goes wrong, and how to set the terms before you generate anything. If you want to go deeper on this, come find us at rootedhistory.io. Thanks for watching.